Be up and running now. Let me double check that. Yeah, there we go. That's up and running there. It's all jazzed. And I'll just do a quick tweet. Doing my cross stitch thing again on camera if you want to drop by. There we go. That's all fun and dandy. Right, let's get that up there. Okay, so where we are is we're really in, I suppose, cleanup and finish up mode would be the way to say that, because there's a few bits I haven't quite got right and I want to get them right. So the first thing is I need to figure out this fish. I think one adjustment I'm going to make to the piece, originally the pattern is a round pattern, but I've been thinking about how I'm going to sort of frame the piece and how I'm going to put the piece together. And I personally think I actually want not a square pattern, but sort of a portrait pattern. So I'm going to be changing some stuff up here. So let's just do that. There, okay. That's going to continue to the edge there. Do you know, I think that there is actually okay like that. I think we just do the blue and then, okay, that's fine and dandy. What I really need to decide, so I'm going to need my dark grey to finish up that mountain there. And then I need to figure out what I'm doing with these holes. So there's some holes there. That I need to finish up with a bit of, I think originally it was 666 with a bit of black mixed in. So I'll go through that. Yeah, I think I can recreate that. Yeah, we're going to be doing cleanup today. Cleanup for past sins and mistakes, because I did so much wonderful cleanup on my work area. I posted a nice photo of it. It's kind of hard to take a thing off. Okay, so that there, and that there is all meant to be sort of a dark, like a really dark bluish brown. Yeah, dark bluish brown. Let's see, where else in the pattern does that dark bluish brown appear? Is it only on the fish? It's the 8-ball symbol, so it should be easy to spot. I think it's only on the fish. Well, that's interesting. There it's a dark green, but here I could swear it's a, oh no, it's a really dark greeny brown. Okay. I tend not to let myself get too wrapped up in the particular shade of whatever I've chosen for a thing, as long as the piece works out, you know. I'll be honest, I'm not being a stickler for the pattern, because I find it more interesting that way. I can make more sort of decisions as I go. Right, okay, so what I'm missing here is we've got the light blue. I'm missing, so I need the dark grey there to finish up that bit there, which I'll grab in a sec. And here where the fish is, just here. Okay, I need this vivid green. Okay, so, oh, that's actually quite a tricky bit. Let me see what I can arrange from my floss board. I really wish it was easy just to turn the camera to show you. I suppose I can try. Let me try to turn the camera and show you. I'm going to regret this, I know. But there, my project setup, and there's my new floss board, which I am really proud of, I'll be honest. I will be very honest on that one. I am very proud of that particular setup. Oh dear. This is meant to be there. I've just realised I haven't turned on my light. Bear with me 1 second. Move that out of the way. And, not at all awkward. Right. Let's see, what are we looking for? We're looking for not my lightest green, but one of my lighter greens. Sure, that's the candidate there. Okay, great. So we can use that. Then we're looking for my sort of light yellowy. I think that's a good candidate. Yes, that's a good candidate there. And then, so that's kind of already actually done, sort of. I'll be honest, I have fluffed up a little bit in this area, but we can fix it. We can fix it. Right, okay. That there, and then some darker shades of green. Okay. Work through this. I think that's a bit too dark. Okay, with that set there, I think we have a chance. With that set there, I think we may be in business. Have I forgotten anything? That bit there. Just there. What are we looking at? We're looking at the shape of the fish. Okay, we're looking at a grey there. That same grey. Oh, and we need the dark grey for the mountain. So let's get that. Oh. Dark grey for the mountain. And light grey. And I'm just going to grab that. I think that is... Well, it's really hard to tell yet. Let me get into position. I'll do cleanup. Tonight is a cleanup stream, 100%. 100% a cleanup stream. Right. I'll be honest. It's going to be a little bit hard to tell. Yeah, this one is a shade darker. I think, frankly, I think this is the one just because there's less of it and I used a fair bit. So I think we go with that. Right, so that's going to be the easier one to finish off. I'm getting all stressy in my gut. Oh dear, the camera's nowhere near pointed at me. Okay. Oh, it's kind of pointed at the wall there, isn't it? This is what I get for adjusting the camera. There we go. It's good enough. It's good enough. Right, let's do the easy bit first. I think the easy bit's going to be to finish this smidge up here. I'm going to go darker than... yeah. Let's finish up this easy bit here first. I think that's the call. Because it'll at least get us putting stitches in. Now it doesn't need to be much, does it? This is the darker bit. Yeah, this is the darker bit. See, this is why I have to mark patterns and stuff, because I am not the most organized person. Now, I could make this long, but I don't want to make this too long because I'm going to split it up into multiple pieces. And between the multiple pieces, we should be okay. We should be okay. Like, I don't want to make it long enough that I can do it in one piece and then have... there we go. Where's my scissors? Skizzers. There's my skizzers. That's all good. Chippy. Chip, chip, chip. Chip away. Now, there we go. So some people wonder why I do these really low-key streams, and honestly, a big part of it is my ADHD and a thing called body doubling. Just find it much easier to accomplish a task if I know other people are around and doing stuff. And frankly, it's also just fun to chat. It's fun to chat, natter away and talk and go there. I've always enjoyed performing. It's just a thing I enjoy. And this is just a satisfying activity for me, frankly. Very satisfying. Though I am looking forward to going back to improv this week, because I, on a whim, took an improv class end of last year. Basically what was happening is I was on the bus to go skate, and I was like, well, skating's not going to be great in the winter. I need something for the winter. Let me book improv class. Don't know why. I thought about improv. I think it was, that was it. We'd gone to see an improv show. This is 2-3 years ago. And we were just on a mailing list. And we had got a mailing list that classes were starting up again soon because, lockdowns and all that jazz. And I signed up for a class. Unfortunately, the first classes I could sign up for were too full, so they basically pushed it back until later in the year. And I totally forgot about it until I got a reminder email that says, hey, you signed up for and paid for these classes. They start now. And I went along, and honestly, it was some of the most fun I had last year. Absolute blast. Lovely people, really social. It was, it's just out and out fun, frankly. So I did that. And I think I was also just missing Twitch, to be honest. I'll be honest, I think I was just missing Twitch somewhat as well. Because, this is my little performance space. And, it was really fun. And unfortunately, because holidays and everything, the classes had to take a break. But I will say I did immediately book for the next batch. And they start up again, this week. And so I'm going back to those. Really looking forward to going back to those. And this Wednesday. This Wednesday I will be back in the saddle, so to speak. It's funny though, because it's always been a joke sort of among theatre people and theatre goers. Never take people to improv, because improv gets a bit of a bad rap, but it was always kind of seen as like everyone's got that improv show, and inevitably they try to drag friends and family along to it. And improv's one of those things that if you really enjoy it, you enjoy it. I enjoy it. I have a blast with it. But I suppose maybe I should say there's snobbery around improv, but I don't think that's true. I don't think it's pure snobbery, because I think a lot of people do improv. But, it's just kind of the nature of the beast that, it can be a bit hit and miss. It's kind of, you get the same thing where people are like, oh, come out of my live stream or whatever. And occasionally one of my friends, especially lately, I think especially in 2020, which is why I think I burnt out a bit on Twitch, because I've been doing this a long time. And for most of the time, people are like, what's Twitch and what's streaming and all this jazz. And over the years, I've got paid to tell people about it and things, and all that stuff. And, mostly externally as sort of a industry person. But, I've done a lot of explaining over the years. And so occasionally someone would, start up a thing. And, being the supportive friend, I'll go see their first few streams, hang along, cheer them on, and go, hey, so, congrats, this is how you do this is how you do this, and sort of help them along with that. And so I am one of those people that will tend to go to a friend's sort of one-person off-Broadway kind of show, and I've learned to enjoy it, but there's definitely a trope, and it's a trope probably because it's very relatable and true, that a friend or a family member or whatever is into a thing, and especially theatre or performance, a thing that requires sort of live attendance, because if you do a podcast, or if you write a book or something like that, you can say to someone, hey, listen to the podcast or read the book or whatever. And, well, you know, some people will be really obnoxious and chase up. It's like, how did you think it was or whatever? It's a much easier ask because you're not asking for their time at a specific time and stuff. Whereas with theatre, you can basically, a lot of people basically cringe co-workers or friends and family into attending a show. And it's very obvious if they didn't attend the show because usually the venue's not very big and the stage lighting isn't that extreme, so you can kind of see into the audience or whatever, and you have your seats with the reserved sign on, and you know, in the front row, which is awkward as hell. And yeah, so it's a lot more obvious when people don't attend, and people get a lot more hurt and, you know, emotions and everything. So yeah, I think there's a bit of truth to that trope about, like, but I think that's probably where improv shows in particular get a lot of bad rap. I think it's also like the difference between YouTube and Twitch and improv and theatre is that if I'm in a play, you know, I'm doing rehearsals and we're practicing and da-da-da-da-da. And so for that particular performance, there's a lot of hours and effort that goes in over a very long time to do the show. Oh, 1 second. Be right back. Sorry about that. There's some street works going on outside and my body's not always on my side. Ooh, there we go. Where was I saying? Oh yes, that's what I was saying. So there is this trend that among performers, there will be, how do we say this? There will be a lot of performance, sort of rehearsal and prep time that goes into a scripted theatrical performance, shall we say. And then on the flip side of that, you get improv. Now, someone could actually be... Oh dear. body's really not wanting to cooperate with me today. You can get this thing where someone has actually spent a lot of time on the improv show, but the time they've spent is not necessarily rehearsing the particular show, but they've spent a lot of prep work, a lot of thought time, and, there's a lot of labor that goes into the show. But that's not a guarantee. There's a lot of people who kind of show up to an improv show with, not much work. And I think the same is true of, say, a YouTube video versus a Twitch stream. Now, there are some streamers who will spend a hell of a lot of effort and time into planning the stream and thinking about good content and prep work and all that jazz. And then there's others who'll just sort of push the go live button. It's a low effort stream. I'll be the first to say it. This stream right here is a low effort stream at the moment, because I'm just sort of chilling and vibing and doing cross-stitch. But on the flip side, if a friend of yours has, spent a bunch of time making a YouTube video, you've probably seen at least secondhand the amount of work that's gone into it. When it comes out, it's probably a tightly edited, 10 minutes or whatever. Not like a 1 hour stream and you can, view it at your convenience or whatever. Much in the way that put a lot of work into this cross-stitch over a very long period of time. But when I show it to people, it's only going to take moments for them to really appreciate it, I don't really expect them to spend even a fraction of the time that I spent making it, appreciating it. And so there's this mismatch in our culture of stuff that takes a lot of time and effort to make, but not much time to appreciate, such as art and paintings and things like that, versus other things which can take a lot of time to prepare and a lot of work to prepare, such as improv or streaming, but in some cases can be low effort. And because I think we've all been exposed to the low effort version of a thing, there is this sort of negative association really with the live performance version. But it's also an understandable association, I think. It's as a creative, it's also worth sort of evaluating what is your, I suppose ratio is the best way I can say it. So if you've got, 100 people attending to watch your live person show, which is an hour long, can you honestly say that you have put more than 100 hours of work into that live show? Because if you've put exactly 100 hours of work into a live show, then it's a ratio of 1-to-1. The audience is putting as much collective effort into the show as you did to plan and perform it. So that's something worth considering. Now there are factors. Maybe it's a talk you're giving based on decades of experience or something like that. And there are factors, it's not a simple calculation. But I think it's something worth appreciating. I never did like live music. Oh, you see, there's a difference, right? Live music, there's an interesting caveat. The quality of the recording and the performance is always going to be better on the Studio Master. It just is. And you can listen to it at your leisure and things like that. But there is definitely an ineffable quality to live performance. Now, some bands are great live and some bands aren't. And again, I think it goes down to preparation and musical style. So, Placebo, one of my favorite bands, is an amazing live band. And there really is something to seeing them live. Just like, there's content that a streamer could be making that I would enjoy watching live, but I might not watch the VOD, or I might skip through the VOD. So there is a definite intangibility to the quality there. But yeah, it's something I think more creatives, I wish, would sort of mentally acknowledge is ratio, Now, obviously, the ratio doesn't always hold true because, for instance, if you think about the amount of hours that a very, very famous author spends into writing a book, they may spend a lot of time, but once you've hit a certain number of readers or you know, a YouTuber like Mr. Beast, the amount of effort he puts into an individual video is infamous, famous. Just the amount of money and time and preparation, and he's got a whole team and massive products. But then you look at the amount of people viewing them, the math kind of works out. You know, it's still a good ratio. That's kind of always been the issue with, not the issue, the equation. It's always been the equation with entertainment. You know, low effort daytime television, not as many viewers. But it's probably got a good ratio because it's cheaper to produce and, you know, all that. But yeah, it is worth thinking about. And what I mean about thinking about is there's a bunch of ways it can impact your thinking as a creative. So here's a small way it's impacted mine. If you work on a project as a single person, single individual, there's only so much time you can put into the product, and the product can only be so good. And when you release the product, maybe 6 of your close friends will check it out. Now let's flip the script and say, let's say you worked with 9 other people, so there's 10 of you working on the product. Realistically, will the product be 10 times better? No. But it will be significantly better. And the difference is, does the product take 10 times as long to enjoy? And honestly, if you're talking about a video game or something like that, will often take the same amount of time to enjoy. So while the product may not be 10 times better, the ratio is significantly better. And added to that, well, even though there's probably a bit of Venn diagram overlap, so it's not like 6 friends from each person. Let's say it's, I don't know, let's assume enough overlap to make it 4 friends per person. Instead of having a starting audience of 6, you've got a starting audience of 40. And there's just more likelihood that in that 40 than in the 6, there's a chance you might hit on someone who really likes it and can spread it on to other people who would appreciate the art. This is a good argument for collaboration. It's a very good argument for collaboration. But it's also an argument for making easier to enjoy content. And I don't mean that in the sense of low effort or low value. I mean, maybe cut more out of the video. Maybe make the video game shorter. Maybe make it more accessible, you know? Yeah, just different ways and different means. I don't know, I think it's worthwhile considering how we make things and how we engage in that. Because it's important to value people's time, you know? It's very important to value people's time. And I'll be honest, this kind of thinking has made me occasionally not want to make a thing, because I'm like, is the thing I'm making worth people's time? Sometimes I do stress and worry about that. But then on the flip side, there's this wonderful argument about cake. So you may stress because your cake is not as good as the person next to you. Maybe 2 of you made a chocolate cake, and oh no, 2 of you bought a chocolate cake at the same time. And your chocolate cake is not as good as the other person's chocolate cake. And you stress about it a lot. But you know what everyone who turned up to eat cake is thinking? More cake. So, you know, that's a great argument. But then, here's Claire Anxiety Brain kicking in. What if there's 1,000 cakes on the table? Now you're thinking, well, there's 1,001 cakes, another chocolate cake. Or is it, oh my god, another cake? You know, so the situation does change a bit. So, you know, maybe you can make the gluten-free chocolate cake, because there's not many gluten-free chocolate cakes there. You know, find a niche. There's not going to be a single metaphor or adage that sort of covers everything. I'm just sharing what's in my brain. I've been thinking about this stuff a lot. For a very long time, to be honest. Even though I'm doing my sort of low effort chill stream, I'm kind of hoping that, you know, people enjoy hanging out. But on the other hand, I'm hoping that I have acquired enough stuff and weirdness that maybe some people get some amusement from my stories. Exactly, Curbs. It is tough though, because it's one of the reasons why, must be 3-4 years ago now, I made a rule that I no longer buy a video game when it's on sale. I buy, and I have a hard rule, I only buy a video game if I'm going to play it the same day as I buy it. That does two things. One, stops me spending money on games I'm never going to play. But two, when I buy a game, I buy it. I don't care whether it's on sale or not, because I don't buy games that frequently. But I also give myself permission, nay, a duty, to play the game the same day as I buy it. So, that sounds really silly, but what it means is when I make a purchase decision, I'm promising to myself that I will spend some time later that day, mind, not later in the week, not on the weekend, that day, to play the game. And I'm someone who doesn't give myself a lot of breaks. So when I do that, I kind of force myself into a contract that I'm going to play that game today, which means I'm forcing myself into a contract to relax today. And it works out well for me. It's worked out really well. Yeah, well, a lot of people are always like, well, you know, it's so cheap, it might as well be free. And I'm like, well, you know, there's so much free entertainment out there. It's not necessarily about the money. It's really not necessarily about the money. Now, maybe if I was really strapped for cash, I was like, you know, time rich and, you know, not as financially well off. But I mean, when I say not as financially well off, I mean like, if you spend $20 on Steam, you're going to get way more than, you know, a week of gameplay out of a thing. You know, if you know what you're buying and stuff. Like, it's not hard to get entertainment. Yeah, you might not be playing the latest, you know, and greatest AAA video games, but yeah, it's a thing. That's a thing. The other thing is it stops me making FOMO purchases. So game marketing, and not just game marketing, movie marketing and stuff as well, heavily requires that, oh, this is what everyone's talking about now. You don't want to get spoiled. You don't want to get ruined. This is what pop culture is all about this week. Better get onto it. And it's a powerful motivating force, you know. And you know, you can't ever say to yourself, well, I'm not affected by that, because that's a lie. That's just a out and out lie. Everyone who's ever worked in advertising or design or any of this stuff knows that if anything, you're more affected by it because you're more aware of it. It's a weird thing. You can make higher cognitive decisions, that you can, you know, do certain behavior patterns. So like, for instance, I will always pay for the ad-free version of everything. Even when I don't use the service a ton, I will pay for the ad-free version. Because I will get myself to avoid ads. Oh dear, I don't have good things to say about that movie, and I shan't repeat them on stream because they're a bit of a downer. They're a bit of a downer. I will admit, I was a little bit nervous about going to the cinema in December, but a little bit of FOMO basically made me go watch Spider-Man and Matrix. And I'm really glad I went to see both movies, because I really enjoyed both movies. And in particular, I'm really glad I saw them at IMAX while they were on at IMAX. Because also the IMAX in London only has one screen. It's a bloody big screen, but it only has one. So as a result of that, the movies, especially when there's like back-to-back like Matrix and Spider-Man competing for ticket times, there's not many shows you can go to view it with, so yeah. I was very happy that I got to go see those. But I also think that generally speaking, it'll be a rare situation that gets me to the cinema these days. My home setup is that good, and movies are coming out close enough to their cinema release that I'm not actually stressed about going to see things in the cinema. And frankly, the only time I will ever go see something in the cinema is IMAX or sort of equivalent quality, because a bad movie, like a small movie theater or whatever, is just, it doesn't even register on the scale, really. Not when it comes to a comfy couch and home viewing. It's just not a good deal. Oh, damn it. Am I going to have to? I'm going to have to, aren't I? You will. That's unfortunate. I have misjudged, and I'm going to have to pay the piper. That is very unfortunate. Should have gone a little bit longer. This is always the problem with finishing up these little bits. Always the problem. Well, indie cinema can do direct-to-DVD releases. You know, they don't need to be at the bloody cinema. I should say, I give 0 tosses about indie cinema, and I give every toss in the world about indie filmmaking. Now, if you want to talk theatre, I will support local theatre with every last dime I can. It's also surprisingly difficult to find good local theatre. Thankfully, London is, shall we say, a shining light in the dark. London and New York. I'm sure LA's probably got a theatre scene, but I dread to think what LA's theatre scene's like. Probably better than most places, but who knows? Who knows? The impression or the worry, I'd say, that I'd get with LA's theatre scene. Now, full disclosure, I have no idea about LA's theatre scene. I'm purely going on conjecture. But I get the sense that most people in LA's theatre scene want to be on camera, not on stage. And you know, an industry like theatre is not just the performers, it's the audience. You know, are there enough people in LA who want to actually go see stage theatre? Maybe. As again, I have no knowledge. But yeah, I'll happily support London theatre, especially the smaller theatres. That tea was going a smidge cold. I should make another cup in a bit, but I'll have water for now. But the Southwark Theatre near me is a very lovely theatre. We also got some other small shows and stuff. New York is very much the heart of the American theatre scene. That is the case. But New York has people go to New York looking for theatre. You know, as I say, it's an ecosystem. It's a culture. It's very important to have that cultural side to things. As I say, I love going to a small theatre. My ideal theatre is big enough that your audience is more than 20, less than 100. More than 20, less than 100. Now I say your audience, not your seats, because obviously smaller theatres do not always sell out, though it is nice when they do. There is a feeling to a sold out small theatre that's really lovely. and the chairs are on the same level as the actors often, you know, because they've pushed an additional row of chairs a little bit too close enough that you really see the actors up close, and you know, maybe you're getting a bit of theatre in the round, so to speak. And the set lighting is maybe one spot, static lighting, few fades, you know, really simplistic stuff. Not to say I don't like technical theatre. I really enjoy good technical theatre, but it is the case where it can, I suppose, override the show would be my language I'd use. Oh, come on. Come on. Okay, we just gotta save this little bit of... What have we done? We've done something we shouldn't have done. There we go. Come on. Sometimes if you get a bit of a... There we go. Oh yeah. I'm having to do a little bit of patchwork here, which is why you're seeing this. Oh no, don't want to do that yet. We want to come down here. And we're just doing a little bit of cleanup. I should be feeling it just... I'm basically just feeling it out. I could just turn it over and do it that way, but I do worry sometimes that if I don't get... There we go. I feel for the piece, then it just doesn't feel right. And I like to be able to watch the business end of the embroidery, because it's nice to have a neat back, but really a neat back is secondary to the front finisher in the front. So I really do like to focus in on the finish on the front. Can you hear that jackhammer in the background? Now, context, it's 11 here. But I think they're doing some emergency works on the street outside. And because it's a main street, I don't think they can really do it during the daytime. So there is a little bit of jackhammering going on outside. Thankfully, I don't go to bed till quite late, so I'm rather certain it'll be done by the time I want to go to bed. But I think they are disturbing my wife's sleep just a smidge. Just a smidge. All good. All good and dandy. Good and dandy. There we go. There we go. But yeah, I'm going to see a small show is always fun. I did see that a bunch of theatre plays came into public domain this year, so hopefully we see a few small performances of them. Some authors who came into public domain, including Winnie the Pooh. Good fun. Though the red shirt on Winnie the Pooh apparently is not in public domain yet, because that particular depiction of Winnie the Pooh is copyrighted by the mouse, because the mouse is getting in the way of Winnie the Pooh. Personally, I think it is a derivative of, I think such a mild derivative of the original work should not be protected under its own individual copyright, especially not the author plus X years copyright. That's it's just not on. Just not on. It's not what copyright was invented for. Of course, Twitch itself has been getting into hot water. If any of you have seen the new meta of watching movies and watching anime and watching MasterChef and all other kinds of things on stream, and people getting banned, and yeah, hopefully it stays at DMCA level. But I don't think enough people realize the likelihood of individual lawsuits. It's a thing that could happen. It's a very good Winnie the Pooh, the original book, and all the materials there is 100% in public domain, and feel free to use it. You're safe. Winnie the Pooh, the cartoons and the depictions of those characters, totally not under public domain, hence the red shirt. But if you're looking at the original illustrations and the original novels, then yeah, you're 100% in the clear to use Winnie the Pooh. It is now 100% in public domain as of the start of this year. Christopher Robin and all that. Free game. You could go make a Winnie the Pooh dream, and you would be able to sell it. You'd be able to make a Winnie the Pooh book or movie. Red shirt isn't, not because of Star Trek, but because it is a derivative depiction. I mean, it's pretty thin legal ground, if we're completely honest. The red shirt itself, I mean, obviously the cartoons and everything are 100% copyright. But the idea of putting a red shirt on Winnie the Pooh should not be copyright. And there is, it is unclear. Obviously the Disney lawyers have come out and said, yeah, the red shirt is copyright. But realistically speaking, that has not been tested in court. And I have seen different legal opinions on whether or not the red shirt is covered or not, though Disney currently claims it is. But if you read the Winnie the Pooh books and you derive anything from the Winnie the Pooh books, including, I don't know, a plaid shirt, then you are 100% in the clear. Yep. Because that is what the public domain is for. The copyright was originally intended to enrich the public domain, because there was a fear that people would stop publishing content, which, if you know anything about artists and authors and stuff, is just laughable. But there was a fear that people would stop writing new stories because there were so many printers ripping off works, and creative copyright didn't really provide enough protection, they said. So it was extended and enforced and then lobbied to death, and that is how we ended up in the shit show that we are today. And it's laughable, because if copyright was enforced by the letter of the law, it would be a shit show. There's really no other way to express it. It would be a complete and utter shit show. But hey, selective enforcement at the pleasure of companies we serve. That being said, every year more stuff does come into the public domain, and it's worth keeping an eye on, because sometimes something fun can come up. Copy wrong. I mean, I don't think most people object to the concept of copyright. It's more, I think, the duration of copyright that really rankles people. But yeah. The real issue with copyright is that most of the money is made off a thing after the original person is dead, or after it's been sold on or dissolved, or, you know, the estate of blah-de-blah-de-blah. It's always a fun legal minefield. Right, let's do a little bit of cleanup on these mountains. We're not going to be doing any sky tonight, because we're going to be doing cleanup mostly. Well, you know, you do want people to be able to make... memes are not illegal. That is, memes being illegal is a trope that was invented by anti-European people and invented by pro-copyright people. The whole memes being illegal. It's complete bullshit. It's usually covered under derivative and parody laws in most countries. And most countries are fairly uniform on this stuff. Article 13, which later became Article 17, is actually a really good law, and it's just misconstrued. But basically, it is in support of it forces companies to use certain technology as it becomes best practice and industry standard. So, for example, it enforces the existence of Content ID on systems, but at the same time, it only enforces them on companies of a certain size, certain profit margin, and da-da-da-da-da. So if you're a startup or a small company, which was the counter argument everyone gave, it doesn't actually apply to you. It was very much written very well. It was a good European law. And it did pass, but it transformed from Article 13 to Article 17. But yeah, memes being illegal, well, to put it in terms that people might understand, it's the McDonald's coffee of our hot coffee of our day. It's a corporate smear campaign. Well, corporate and political smear campaign. Like curved bananas. Morning, Dazzles. How are you doing? How are you doing, sir? Good to see you. I forgot to check my YouTube comment settings. I need to check them again to see if there is something I can do to stop those random posts. They're not links, thankfully, because I've disabled posting links on my YouTube chat. But yeah, every stream I seem to get one of those. Very strange. Very strange. Patrine away at work. Good. Hope work's not keeping you too busy. Keeping you just busy enough to pay the bills and stay mentally interested. But you can forget about it when you sign off at the end of the day. Because I am informed that this is the normal way a job is meant to be. In my entire adult life, I have never had a job until now that I sign off at work at the end of the day and I'm like, I'm done with my job. And that's not to say that I don't enjoy my job and it's not challenging and such, but I don't know, now that I'm out of the games industry, I can kind of just detach myself from my job. It's rather lovely. It's nice to have that work-life balance separation thing. People keep telling me about it, but apparently this is normal. Feels very strange to me. As I say, this is the first time in my life I'm experiencing it. I mean, that's not technically true. When I was in university and working some shitty jobs to pay for uni, well, I forgot about work as soon as I left work. But at the time, I was doing uni, and uni was constantly on my mind. I could never get uni out of my mind. So in that sense, I see that as just me having multiple jobs. Well, actually, at some points in my uni career, I did have multiple jobs. But one of those jobs I've always cared about. So, hey. And that's not to say I don't care about my current job. It's just that my current job is something I can leave at work, which is nice. It's very, very nice. Because, yeah, one of the reasons you get paid more money and stuff for some jobs is, well, those jobs, you know, they don't really get out of your head because you're paid to solve problems and you're really thinking about the job all the time because you're thinking through tricky problems. You know, it's not really a 9-to-5 kind of job. It doesn't make sense. But having said that, when emotionally you're not at work all the time, that's a big difference. Big difference. Because you can show me a link to a video game that I worked on 10 years ago, and even some of the shit games, I'll be like, oh, and I will read that and I'll be interested in it, because there's not a single game I've shipped that doesn't have a little bit of me in it. I care about every game I ever made. That's not an exaggeration or understatement. It's just the way it is. Yeah, you ponder a lot of, shiny new stuff, gets in your brain. Does get in your brain. But I've had some jobs like, I was a wedding photographer. I never think about the weddings that I took photos of, really, unless I'm remembering back. Also did conference photography and stuff. I've done web design, I've done standing up databases, IDSN installation, all kinds of weird stuff when I was a teenager. Yeah, never thought twice about those jobs. Never recollect on them, especially not the nature of the work. But every single video game, even the ones we never shipped, especially the ones we never shipped, to be honest, still occasionally find myself thinking about them. Oh, Kibs, come on. Come on, man. Don't post images. Don't post text blocks like that. I'm not going to read those. That's a lot of text. And then I use my own tech in my own projects. That is a lot of text for me to go through. Come on, man. I'm not using my old bot. I'm using a new thing. Because if my old bot was still a thing, I would have that would have compressed down to tiny text. Yeah, well. Getting back into the streaming thing. Yeah, specifically, unfortunately, because I'm multi-streaming at the moment, I can't use my old bot. But I specifically wrote code in my old bot that whenever someone text dumped, it squished it down to 3-point font, so it was intentionally unreadable. And so, the message didn't clog up. Because it's easy to get your attention sniped like that. And then all you're doing is you're doing this. That's not interesting for anyone to watch. That's not interesting for anyone to watch. Now, I will say, I have been thinking about doing call-in shows, the wrong way to describe it. Interview shows also the wrong way to describe it. I've been thinking about doing a casual discourse with interesting people while doing something rather amusing as a format. I like casual discourse. Yeah, it's handy. Handy. And I know a bunch of interesting people. It's been on my radar as a thing to maybe do. I just don't want to go back to. Used to do some interview stuff for some stuff, and it just becomes a whole thing. Never had the idea of combating right wing. Oh God, basically drive down their CTR on recommendations. I mean. Anytime, manipulating the algorithm is against TOS, which means anything you do could get you banned there and stuff, so that's tough initially, but intentional manipulation, any intentional manipulation of the algorithm you can do one way can be done another way. It's you're just inventing a weapon to target. You're inventing a weapon to target people's videos. That's really what you're doing. It's not. Yeah, weapons suck at that because they're very exploitable. Versus doing something like education, because you can't make people dumber through education. I mean, there's false education and misinformation and stuff, but actual education, it's very hard to teach. It's very hard to teach stupid. Don't get me wrong, it can be done, but it is tough. Right, sorry, I'm just mapping this out here. Okay, we're going to go from that square there, right in the middle. Is that it there? Yeah, that is it there. Well, it does and it doesn't. Depends on the content. But the algorithm itself is not inherently biased to left or right. Now, it can develop biases in a bunch of different ways, but realistically, what it comes down to is it comes down to metrics and numbers. And here's a sad thing we know about people. Fear and negative emotions are easier to manipulate and easier to sell on. So, unfortunately, those are the tropes and memes used by, I don't want to say right-wing, because I feel like right-wing's not the right language to use in this case. I will say oppressive or aggressive policies. Sorry, just tracking where I'm going with this. That's going to go into there. Okay. Really? That is a pain in the neck. We're gonna I think the way we're gonna do this is, sorry, because here I've gone off pattern a bit and I'm basically trying to fix up the picture. That's why I'm pausing up a bunch and I'm trying to plan out. And unfortunately, you've got to plan it out in such a way that let's put it this way, there's no erase on cross stitch. You got to be pretty damn sure about what you're doing. Yeah. So anyway, what was I saying? Yeah. So the algorithm tends to be pretty chill about this, but it's also the way that people engage, right? And it's not just about watching the video. It's about comments. It's about how easy is it to classify that particular video. Will that video lead on to watching similar videos? The other thing I'll say about, again, I don't want to use left and right as terms because I don't think they're the most helpful terms. Shall we say more compassionate doctrines or more ideologically open doctrines, accepting doctrines, by their nature are inclusive and by their nature are more likely to have more different kinds of people and more different kind of viewpoints, which means you're not going to have as much agreement. And you see that across the world with these kind of movements. The more compassionate or inclusive narrative is always a more fractured and divided one, just because it is. Because it's more accepting of that division and doesn't stamp it out violently. Sorry, planning. We got the white there. Okay. So here's where we put in a bit of yellow, just 3 squares of yellow. So we're using really tiny bits of stitching here, unfortunately. And I know this is probably just going to end up in a lot of scraps, and I'm actually okay with that. I'm going to just make a scrap bag of thread, which I can use for other bits and bobs. Initially, I was trying to keep little bits of floss by color and stuff, and I've just come to learn it's not worth the fuss that it involves, especially when I'm trying to manage that whole pegboard. It's just not worth the fuss. Honestly, that should be more than enough for 3 squares. Way more than I need, especially considering I'm not going to be using all of it because I'm going to be splitting it off into pairs. But yeah, so no, I wouldn't stress about the algorithm, so to speak. There is really good and nice stuff out there that you can find. And yeah, trying to manipulate things, systems like that, it's never great. Never great. Always better just to be more positive about things. Be the change in the world you want to see, you know? It's really not cooperating with me. There we go. Cheers. This is going to be tough because it's literally just 3 squares. But that should do it. To be honest, there's different ways you can do a stitch, and I should probably be using one of the different ways, but I'm still learning. It's one of the reasons I want to move into embroidery, because I think embroidery is going to be a faster leveling up process than cross stitch, because there's just some more complicated stitches to learn there and some more freedom. But I kind of just wanted a big meeting time. Oh, go do your meeting. Make sure you have some coffee or some other way to keep yourself awake during the meeting. There we go. Wow. I'll continue to do compassion. Yeah. One of my key strategies for dealing with meetings is doodles, because I can easily get distracted, and so I doodle in meetings, and by doodling in meetings I can pay attention, I can focus in on what people are saying, and it also doesn't lock in my thinking as much as writing down words. Writing down words I find puts me in a more closed mindset during a meeting, whereas if I'm doodling or I'm fiddling around, I'm more open to the suggestions that people are making in meetings, and I'm more open to new ideas. And I just find my thinking is a bit more loose. Loose is a good word. Yeah. Which is nice. Which is really nice. It's also, I try as much as possible when someone is discussing a complex topic that it's difficult, right? And they're talking things through, and as I'll nod and sort of affirm what they're talking through as they're going through it. If they're going through like individual details I disagree with, and when they say something I disagree with, I don't shake my head or anything, but I don't nod, but I listen, and I pay attention, so that I'm able to sort of emotionally place where I'm working through their stuff on. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. That piece there should be green, green, green. So I'm going to cross stitch over a stitch. You remember how I said there's not an eraser? There's not an eraser, but you can stack stitches, but you don't get to stack them much, especially not when you've gone thick and chunky with stitches like I have here. I've gone very thick and very chunky with stitches. So there's not much wiggle room, shall we say. There's not much wiggle room. Right. That's what we're going to do. You're going to just check. That's the right one. That is the right one. And again, we only need 3 stitches, so we don't need much, and we're going to have some left over. I was a little bit nervous with how little I had left over there. A sense of I don't want to be cut short. Worst case, I'll waste a little bit of thread. Not a huge drama. Not a huge drama. Go back there. Yeah, I do wish more companies would use VR meetings as the norm, though, because I do enjoy VR meetings. The one thing I will say is I cannot wait for headset resolution to get good enough. It's pretty much there. It's damn close. So I know we'll hit it very soon. Well, I know we've already hit it, to be honest. But I mean, in hardware that I can use frequently, that I can basically do typing, coding work in monitor, in headset, on virtual screens. I can already, to be honest, with large type font. But I mean, it'd be nice to do high resolution. And that's nice. Because, yeah, you just, it's a much more productive meeting when people are present in the meeting. Even if they're doing stuff while they're in the meeting, because then you can see them doing stuff. Those little thumbnail video squares, just, it's not the same. It's not the same. Don't get me wrong, they have their uses, but I got Zoom burnout faster than almost anyone I know. And I got it hard. Like, I burnt out on Zoom so fast. And to be honest, it didn't help with my stream burnout. Though thankfully that's all kind of adjusted now. I have a really nice work day now where I do my work and then my US team comes online at the end of the day, and I basically do all my meetings at the end of the day. And maybe I do a little bit of work during those meetings, but I know once the meetings start, my productivity rate doesn't have to be as high. Yes, Dougal, you're very right. It can be hard. I mean, Teams and some other stuff will sort of highlight the person speaking, but again, it can be tough if there's multiple people speaking, and it doesn't really ground me in the meeting. Whereas even if you're in VR chat, you can be in a room with quite a few people, and you can still have intelligent conversation. I mean, assuming there's intelligent individuals in the VR chat room, which is, assuming a lot, but let's just say, once you hang out with nice people, then more nice people tend to be around. But yeah, the things scale up much easier in VR than they do not. So, yeah. And I have done VR meetings in a professional capacity, and they work for me. They work really well for me. Unfortunately, they are not currently the norm. And I would also say most VR meeting software is absolute pants. If you're not as good as VR chat, fuck off. Because I don't consider VR chat to be a very high technical bar to hit. I mean, it's higher than what a lot of these meeting apps do hit, but it's not hard to hit that as a bar. Oh, they've already tried. They've already tried multiple times. They've been trying to be doing social VR for quite some years and still haven't succeeded. They're battling to hire engineers because there's only so many really good engineers, and none of the really good engineers want to work with them because, well, they're Facebook. So they're having to offer absurd salaries, and even then they're still struggling to hire. They did build their VR meeting thing, and it's decent. It's definitely one of the better ones. Still not as good as VR chat though, which says something. And most of their tech that's actually really interesting is quite low level tech. So things like their pass-through camera detecting the keyboard and things like that. Yeah. But it's hard to dismiss them when they have that much money and that much willingness to spend it. But that is what they want. They do definitely want it. But yeah, if you're doing something with some people remote, I highly encourage you to try maybe meet up in VR chat. Catch up there. Rather than maybe doing a video call. You might be surprised at how personable it can be. Yeah. As I say, it's just a surprisingly effective surprisingly effective meeting location. Right. I've still got some grey floss there. I think I might tidy that up with grey floss. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sense of how they're meant to be holding this. Okay, I think I've got it. I think I've got it. As I said, we are doing fixing here because we're off pattern slightly, and I'm having to amend the drawing, so that is why I'm pausing and going a bit slow. That is somewhat true, but I think it's also, I've been in situations where one person is talking to a large group, and I'd say VR chat's better for that than video presentation up to a certain size, like I'm talking sort of classroom size. Mostly because when you're talking to the group, you can see if they're fidgeting, you can see if they're looking away, you can actually work the room like you'd normally work a room. Yeah, it's just a very different experience compared to, I think if it's too big for a VR classroom, say, I think the next best thing is don't do it live, or at least do it like do it 100% where one person's presenting, and then when you come to questions, that's when people turn on a camera or turn on voice or whatever. One-on-one. Oh, I do tons of one-on-one stuff in VR. VR's just closer to real life, basically. That's all it comes down to. You know, more of your human instincts kick in. And that is a superpower, because it turns out our human brains are equipped for dealing with a lot of that stuff. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do those two there. Okay, I'm actually going to have to mark this out, otherwise I'm going to get lost. I'm going to do that one there, and that one there, that one there, that one there. Okay, and then we're gonna fill in the, do you know what, screw it, I'm gonna go for the full modification. Yeah, we're gonna just do that whole block in, am I gonna regret this? I don't think so. I think it'll work. Oh, why do I feel like I'm going to regret this? Okay, no, I know what I've got to do. Let us find that light teal color that we used for the jacket. Kind of looks like it. Okay, that does look like it. Okay, we're going to use this one. Then we're going to switch up to the green. Then we're going to do a bit of a claw there, and we're going to fill in that section with a bit more grey. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. It's not what's on the pattern, but it's what I think needs to happen. Makes me feel good about what I'm making, at the end of the day, if it fucks up, it's my fuck up, and I, you know, can take ownership of that. But I like going off pattern, to be honest. Gives me that feeling that I'm making creative decisions, which I am, you know. I think that's the other reason I really want to move on to embroidery, is to get away from the color by numbers feel. Though, to be fair, this has not been a color by numbers because I have not followed the recommended colors. I have gone astray many places, initially because I didn't have that much thread. I didn't have a wide selection of colors, so I was improvising, which is why you see, like here, I'm mixing thread colors and doing some other fun techniques. You'll see me do a bit of that because I've got to patch this bit here, which needs a color mix to be consistent. But then the other reason is, in some places I altered the pattern slightly, which, I'm not going to lie, has made this significantly more difficult than it needed to be. But I'm okay with that. It's also made it more fun. It has made it more fun. Here we go. Come through here. Okay. Oh no. Oh well. It's my bad. I've let a bit too much loose thread on the end, but it won't be the end of the world. It just means this thread's going to run out sooner, but I have more thread of this color, so it'll be fine. And to be honest, it'll probably just mean that this section's done with 2 pieces instead of 1 piece. But either way, I was going to have pieces left over, so this is not a bad thing. I mean, it's a little bit of a bad thing because there's a bit extra weight on the back, but come on, you know you want to find that hole. Again, it's not about force with this, it's about finding the hole you've already made, sliding between the, there we go, sliding between the threads. All fine and dandy, all fine and dandy. And go through. Come on, there we go. And slide and push. And honestly, I don't think we'll even need the second thread. Come on. I'm now basically in the place where I'm trying to think. Yeah, no, I do want to do that whole bit of green. I do want to do that whole bit of green, and I'm going to fill that a little bit in with grey. Yeah. It's not a perfect match color, but you know what? Sod it. We made a decision, we made a call. I'm sticking with it. I'm sticking with it. That's all jazzed. Yeah. Because we're doing fix-ups, little bits of fix-ups, my thread pile tonight is on the larger side. And that's already a bit of a... There we go. This is literally just for this tiny bit here. Don't worry. Be moving on to the next bit in a second. This is mostly from situations where I've been cross-stitching in the TV and we've been watching a show or something, and then I had to go answer the door, or I had to go back to work because lunch was over, or something happened, and especially these holes near the start, it's basically before I started marking out the areas I was working on, And then I'd think to myself, oh, I must have finished that section, and then I'd move on, and then I've come back later and I've been like, oh no, I didn't finish that section, I moved on, and I basically, that's how I ended up with these tiny little bits of gap. And in a few places, what's even worse, it's because I thought I finished that section, and then I'm going up and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I just sew up until this color. And that's where a few of the corruptions, the patterns started, and that's when I started how to get creative and how I fix those corruptions of the pattern. So that's how a lot of this. Oh, my shoulders are getting chilly. Getting chilly. Just do the full blanket monster. Blanket monstering. I had the cutest photo of my kitty cat today, Vertex. Well, one of our kitty cats. Being a total burrito. He was being a very adorable little shit. Come on, come on. You know you want to slide. There you go. Okay. So this is where we've got too much slack. Come on, there we go. But yeah, he's been an adorable lap kitty today, and then he was on the blanket, and I wrapped the blanket really tight, and then he let me put the blanket on top of him, and he let me sort of snuggle him in even more. And by the end of lunch, because we were watching an episode while eating lunch, I had him really snuggled up in this blanket, nice and tight, and he was super happy and purry for the rest of lunch. I was actually a little bit late getting back to work because I was like, I have a cat on my lap. And it took me a few minutes to just convince myself to get this cat off my lap. Oh, that is a bit of messy. This is the problem when you have a bit too long a piece. Thankfully, I think I can just trim that. You can end up with some messy back. They do have cool names. Vertex and Pixel. Vertex and Pixel. Very, very cool boys. They're old men now. They're getting old. I mean, they've still got years to go. Touch wood. But, they're getting on now. They're definitely a lot cuddlier than they were, I don't know, 4 years ago. Because obviously as kittens, and they were kittens, 8 years ago? 9 years ago. As kittens, cats are super cuddly. And cats do basically have like teen years and stuff that they go through. It's fairly typical with most animals. It's exaggerated in humans through social structures and things like that. Basically, as our societies have become more stable and things, we've invented things like adolescence and teen years and all that kind of stuff. Like, these are all relatively modern concepts because of basically protecting kids' time and longer education cycles and things like that. Here we go. But the basic idea of developmental stages and learning, like, these have been around for a while and are displayed in a lot of other animals, specifically herd animals, larger society groupings. When my girlfriend went to visit family, her cats are cuddling me every night. Oh, yeah, no, they do that. They do that. When I go away on business trips, which obviously I haven't done for a while, but I used to do all the time, apparently the cats would sulk for a day or two when I left. They'd get really upset. And then when I come back, I can confirm they would sulk for a day or two, maybe 3, when I came back, and then they'd be super cuddly. But they would be unhappy that I left, which was always sweet. It's like, I always like that about cats. Like, you have to work for affection from cats, and they do hold you to account. You don't get it for free from a kitty. They're like What? You didn't feed me on time. I'm very upset with you. Another reason why I prefer doing individual colors in a pattern rather than doing square blocks and stuff is I like to know when I'm running low on thread and when I might need to get creative with a color in another area of the pattern, because maybe the original pattern called for one color to be used in two separate places that aren't linked. So in this case, like the trees and Cthulhu use some similar colors, and I shifted the palette around a little bit because I ran out of some of my earlier thread. Yeah, so that's one of the reasons I do like working with color blocks instead of sewing blocks. Only really matters on larger pieces like this, because you kind of know at the start of a small piece if you've got enough or not, because, well, it's easier to estimate a smaller piece. Okay. We gotta get this just right, because otherwise we're gonna waste thread, and I really don't want to waste thread on this color. Oh, we have a split thread problem. There we go. There we go. And now I just hold that there. Gently and carefully pull that tight, and that should anchor that pretty confidently. Pretty confident that should anchor. Okay, remember how I said there's no eraser? Well, there isn't, but you can cross stitch over another stitch, but especially if you've been doing thick stitches like I have, there's the danger you won't have enough room to stitch through, and obviously there's the danger, or sometimes the feature, that the undercolor will show through. In this case, I consider it a feature, because, yeah, come on, you know you want to. No. Here we go. There we go. Slide it through. And we've got a little bit of a loose spur here, but we should be able to. No, come on. There we go. Clean it up quickly enough. I actually quite like that Cthulhu's got the most sort of improvised color pattern and some mixed threads and stuff being the center of the piece, even though it was where I started and where I made arguably the most mistakes. It kind of makes it more charming for me, because like Nessie I made no mistakes on, and Nessie is the backstitching on Nessie is immaculate. But I mean, hopefully once the backstitching goes on, sorry, not the backstitching was immaculate, I'm saying the back side of the stitching is immaculate, but once the backstitching is going on, I'm hoping that Nessie has a bit more character. But Nessie was done a little bit too neat for my liking, almost, in the sense of she feels a bit flat to me at the moment, because I perfectly followed the pattern on that one. So interesting to see how that turns up. Interested to see how that shakes out. Come on. There we go. There we go. Come on. Oh, we're going to finish this tight section. I know we are. Here we go. Though I haven't developed the technique for parking thread, which is how a lot of people do the block stuff, so part of me is being like, oh, maybe I need to learn better how to park thread and just try that technique a bit sometime, but it's not as appealing. As I say, the next thing I want to go on to after this piece is done is more sort of embroidery style stuff. Okay, that section is done. We're looking good. We are looking good. Okay. So, pull that out there. Gonna leave that there. The thing I'm concerned about is this bit here. It's meant to be a sort of browny green blue color, browny green blue color, not too dark. But you know, I think this is a good candidate. It might be a bit too light. What about this color? It's much darker. I think that can work. Yeah, I think that'll work better. We only need enough for just a few. We're gonna have leftover thread. I know it. It's fine. It's better than doing the ridiculously short bits of floss, because no one likes those. No one likes the tiny, tiny pieces of floss. Work out. Wee, bootish. There we go, and pull that through there. Fan-bloody-tastic. Yeah, I have to say, I'm really enjoying being back into the streaming habit. It's nice. It's fun just to hang out and make this progress. Also, we are on the 11th, and I can pretty much guarantee I'm going to finish this piece come hell or high water by the end of this month. This piece is going to be done. Donezoed and framed. $100% donezoed and framed. That is my promise to myself. End of this month. Hopefully sooner, but let's see. Hopefully sooner. Like bonus points for finishing early, you know, but more than anything, it just has to be done by the end of the month and it has to be good. As I say, I'm quite nervous about getting all the backstitching on this done, because as I say, I'm going to have to improvise and work through some stuff. but I think I can do it. I'm confident. I think we can nail it. Come on, there we go. Slide in there. Slide and turn. Okay. I think, yeah, let's go back on it. What I'm also quite keen on playing around with is using coloured backstitch, because traditionally you backstitch with black. I just use black, but I'm quite liking the idea of using some softer dark colours on that. You know, it's still pretty dark. I don't want to go too adventurous on it, except in some cases I kind of do. But yeah, I'm keen to see how that all works out. Of course, we are going to get some solid blocks in bits, like when we do the sky and the sea. I think we're just going to see. I don't know if I'll do those on stream or off stream, because those might just be like progress, you know, where it's just like so. But hey, it'll be fantastic to finish this piece out. I'm really I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm enjoying doing it as well. So there's always a little bit of sadness about finishing a piece, but it'll just be the biggest bit of cross stitch I've ever done, and it'll be just nice little, yeah. I've only ever really done small bits of cross stitch, even as a kid. Mostly did it while my mum was doing other sewing and it was just keeping me busy. Did a little bit of it on by myself, my own time. But I am a very easily distracted person. So I need projects like this, or I need streams or group projects or things like that to just focus my mind, keep me on target, keep me doing the thing. Keep me doing the thing. Because if I don't have the things keeping me doing it, I lose track. And I go, ooh, shiny new project, shiny new thing. So yeah. Just trying to curb the ADHD. Trying to like go, okay. Focus. The public works has stopped at least, though it is 5 past midnight, so I should hope they stopped by now. Come on, there we go. Close up that little gap. Come on. Here we go. That is all that tied up on the fish end. Nice. Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely, because I'm just doing little bits and pieces, I'm definitely costing myself a bunch of thread. Right, let's just check this next bit out, because I've got to be very certain what I'm doing. Okay, what are we missing? So that is all blue. That's good. That's what we want to see. This here. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder if I can reuse. Probably can. Okay, let's see. I've got some here. It's a shade off, but I might be able to get away with it. Yeah, it's a shade off, but I think I can get away with it. Okay. Let us try. Let us try. There we go. Okay, that is all blue. That is water under there that we want to have rendered. So this is stripes in the socks. Almost shading in the socks that we want to pull out. A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I want to be very careful how we pull this out. Hold on. See, that's what I mean by we've got to be careful how we pull this out. There we go, and push through that. There we go. Don't pull too hard, otherwise we'll break our little tension hold. But it'll give us enough that we don't slip. And then as we do more and more loops, it'll become more and more anchored in. And I think the color kind of works. Yeah, I think the color works. Come on. You can feel it. I really don't like turning it over. I really like being able to feel where the needle is. There we go. Just the more confident you can get with pushing the needle through without turning over, the more you're able to do, well, A, faster stitching, but B, some more complex stitching that if you're flipping around constantly, it doesn't work. And I do want to move on to some more complex stitching stuff. Come on. Oh, I can feel you. Go. Here we go. Yeah, it was a big breakthrough when I realized I didn't actually need an embroidery needle for this, because the hide is stiff enough that it holds. No, not embroidery needle, embroidery hoop. So obviously if you're working with a more elastic fabric, then the embroidery hoop does a really important thing. But with this really stiff Aida, I don't know how you pronounce it. It's A-I-D-A, I think, or A-D. Lots of vowels. Lots and lots of vowels. Come on. You know you wanna. There we go. Here we go. Feels good when that stuff comes together. I should probably switch thread actually. Nah, I might have enough to cover it. I might just have enough to cover it. Let's go through it. It'll just be really shitty if I don't have enough to cover it, because I'll be like, I'm so close. So the safe and smart option would have been to switch thread before crossing over, but we're here now. Let's push through, see how far we get. Keep it nice and tight. Oh yeah, I can. I'm worried. Come on, can we finish? Now we can finish. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Come on, no, come. There he is. Okay, now we travel back, and we totally do have enough. Come on, we totally have enough. No mistakes, no mistakes. Yeah. It's always deceptive, because basically there's this last bit that you can't use because, well, you need a certain amount of thread on the needle to be able to turn the needle, which is an argument for a really short needle. I have thought about that. I've thought, like, how long does a needle actually have to be? Because I'm guessing there's benefits and compromises here. But, you know, I'm sewing by hand and, like, just pushing through it a little bit, and I have thought to myself, well, if the needle were half the length, what would be the actual negatives? And I haven't been able to think of any. So it has made me wonder, why is a cross-stitch needle just not ridiculously short? There we go. We managed to finish with room to spare. Room to spare. There we go. Now we need to do that red there, which is a slightly darker red. And then we need to do... Oh no, that is the slightly darker red. Oh. Those two there. I fucked up. I fucked up. Damn it. There and there. Okay. Well, now you get to see me do the mixed stitch, which I enjoy doing. Right, so mixing the stitch. I haven't seen a tutorial about anything like this, but I learned to do it when I was a kid, when you basically didn't have the color you wanted. You basically just twist two colors that you already have, you mix them, and you get a stitch that's not quite blended, because you know thread doesn't really blend, not unless you've got really fine things, but from a distance it kind of works. From a distance. No. So this is the new organization method, by the way, on the clothes peg rather than on these things. Yeah, and I really like it. I'm a big fan of the clothes peg organization system, specifically because winding these is a lot simpler, because I can take a power drill and I can clip that onto the end of a flathead screwdriver attachment on a power drill, and I can go I can wind the thread. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it works. It totally 100% works. And that is how I wound up all the thread on the board over there. Or at least the stuff on clothes pegs. The stuff that was on the plastic things is already hand wound. Because I do have a little fancy hand winder thing. I say fancy. This is it here. But it's shit. And I looked to find a better winder and I couldn't find one. And then I saw, I want to say Pinterest board. I don't know if it was Pinterest board or if it was somewhere else. But I saw a thing for organizing floss with nails and a pegboard. And sorry, wooden pegs. And I was like, okay, well, I've got things. And then I was like, okay, no, actually, I need all of the same nail and very nice, so it looks decorative. So I ordered 100 bronze nails, and then I started setting up them. And I did the pegboard thing, and then I realized that 100 is not enough, which was a disturbing discovery, to say the least, but that also the nails were a little bit too short, because I hadn't accounted for how thick the pegs get once the thread's wrapped around them, because obviously they get additional thickness. So yeah, then I had to buy 200 slightly longer bronze nails. Very cheap, but still a very specific thing to buy. So I did that, and after doing that, I spent, I'd say, a day, maybe a day and a half, setting up the board and then starting the winding process and conversion process. And now I've got that lovely new organization system, which I will be honest, I am in love with. I'm a big fan of. Very, very happy with how it's turned out. It's working out tonight because I'm able to do this touch-up work, which one of the reasons it's been put off is all of this picking out colors and matching particular colors and stuff is so much easier when I can look at the board and I can go, maybe I need a bit of that color. Whereas if you're doing it by what's the word? If you're doing it with the old system I had, which was bags of similar shaded colors, you dig around a lot, and it's frustrating. It takes a while. So I was rather happy with how that turned out. It's a better part of my Sunday, but I consider it time well spent. Yeah, very much consider it time well spent. To be honest, the whole time I was doing it, I had a friend round, and we were entertaining her, and we were catching up, and we were just talking in the lounge while I used the power drill and sorted out my pegs. It was a lovely Sunday, and there was no RSI for me, which is always fun. Because let's be honest, if I had wound that many plastic tabs by hand, I would be feeling, I'd be having a very sore wrist, even with my winder, which is meant to help with that, but let's be honest, would have still been annoying as hell. It would have still been a lot of effort, a lot of slow, laborious winding. Come on, I know you're there. Oh, bollocks, I misplaced by... Oh, no wonder. Oh, no wonder. One of the bits that I got a little bit messy with. Back stitch is a little bit... the back of the stitch is a bit messy in this area. So we're going to have to be very careful. Yeah, I think when I do the actual back stitch on this piece, I'm gonna get a very sharp needle to help just push through places. Because I think there's a few places where working through the back stitch is going to be hard. Come on, I can feel you. I know I can feel you. Ironically, when you do it by feel, sometimes it's actually easier than doing it by sight. Because what you are looking for is you're not actually looking for... Oh, motherfucker, I know you're there. Yeah, this is unfortunately a very tight area of stitching. There we go. Just need to find the hole. Once you find the hole, it just slides in. Because all the stitches from all directions come through and basically they don't close up the hole, they just reinforce it. They make it a bit tighter and stuff, but the hole's still very much there, and if you push through it'll thing, but you don't want to sexual innuendos aside. But you don't want to force it because, like, you don't want to basically tear a new bit of the fabric. You want to go through the same pinprick that you went through before, and you want to just let the surrounding thread sort of guide you in. That's the correct way to do it, and it feels really good when you nail it, because it just basically slides through, especially if you're using nice thread, because if you're using nice thread, the thread is like silky, and the needle slides on it because it's not pushing, it's not opposing the needle. It's like if you had a tube that has imagine taking like a piece of toilet roll and running thread like twine lengthwise through the toilet roll, right? You would basically get this like guided tunnel effect, right? And so sliding more thread through is quite easy. Whereas now imagining imagine you run that thread along the inside or the outside of the toilet roll. Basically, you create like ribbing, and then you'd be having to, if you then wanted to do parallels to that, you would have to... Motherfucker. Did I fuck up? No, I didn't. Okay, cool. Where am I? I'm here. Yes, I am here. You go parallel to the pre-existing thing. Sorry, I just realized I think I've still got some, I've still got some there, so I can fix the hole. Not a problem. But I realized I left a hole. Again, this is why I usually mark it now with marker, because then I don't get lost mid sort of mid thread. Because here I might get distracted because I'm talking to chat or whatever, but if I'm doing it on the sofa, I likewise might get distracted because the TV show or the movie gets really good in a bit, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I look down and I forget where I was, or I don't even realize I forget where I was. I'm like, oh, I know where I was. And it's like, no, you forgot that you're meant to step left at that point. Oh, come on. Yeah, that works. Not ideal, but it works. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get too fussy in this section because the brown thread that crosses over this section is particularly thick. Okay. Victory. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. There it is. Okay, cool. Okay. Let's do one more red and black cover-up job. Yeah, on those two squares there. And then there's one fill-in square there that I've got to do. I must not forget about. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to just pull around to here, because I'm not confident of this one holding, and just do that. That'll just help secure it. Doesn't need much. Does not need much. Okay, one more red and black mix, just for this tiny bit that we need. It's honestly going to be overkill. But we need to fix this tiny bit. You'll be amazed the difference 1 or 2 squares can make. You will be amazed. Amazed. There we go. And that one there, that can go into the scrap pile for later use. Likewise here. Blink. Scrap pile. Okay. I need to get more of those pegboard jars. They're really handy. I think they're one of my favorite pegboard buys, other than maybe the black trays or the teal cups. But they're up there. They're definitely up there. Especially because they're nice and small. Actually moved 2 of them from the craft board to the hardware board to store tiny nails, particularly that collection of 100 bronze nails, which I'm no longer using, that I mentioned earlier. There we go. Slide on through. Oh, come on. I know it's slightly misaligned, but... Oh, come on. It's always one of these things when you're threading a needle, if you're fighting with the thread and you're fighting with the needle, just stop and recheck how you're doing it, because chances are if you're fighting with it, you're just gonna end up with frayed edges and shaky hand and all that, and it just doesn't end up in a good place. Twisty, twisty, twisty to get the lovely pattern. Okay. Oh, don't over tension. There we go. Okay, and this is going to be a little bit tough because it's already dense stitching, and we're going to be pushing over squares, which is frankly a little bit of a mess. But hey, we can work it out. There we go. You know, again, this is one of those cases where feel, there we go, feel wins over sight. There we go. And push in there. Come on, and in we go. Oh, no, I was going to go one too far. You know what? Yeah, I'm actually okay with that. Let me do that. Just considering whether or not to change the pattern in that little bit there. There we go. Nope. No, maybe, yes. I know I forced myself through. There we go. Should have realized when I felt that little punch. When you hear that punch sound, you're like, oh no, you punched your way through, you didn't slide your way through. Here we go. Again, two very small squares, but they make a big difference. They make a big difference. Yeah. Then I need to do that one little hole that we missed to patch up. That one little hole. That's a little bit of scrap there. We can just slide that onto the scrap pile. Oh, that's not being cooperative, is it? Is that a two? That is a double pair. That is a pair. Fantastic. Literally, it's a single square, so this is a total overkill. But it'll work. It's ridiculous we missed it the first time, to be honest. Utterly ridiculous. But hey, humans make mistakes. It's okay. Don't be too hard on yourself. Little spot, easily rectified. So I'm just looping the thread in on itself because it's only going to have a single square to hold on to, so there's not going to be a lot of tension in this piece. Okay. Nice. Right. Again, not the most tension in this piece. I'm literally just going to tie it off, and then I'm going to cut the excess. I know, messy, but hey, it's gonna be the cleanest way for this bit. A little bit of wastage, but hey, the piece moves on, and that's what's important at this point. The piece moving on. Okay, done. Dunzo. Is there anything I'm forgetting? Any patches? I don't see any holes we need to hole up. That is all meant to be blue. That is all meant to be blue. We've done all the little ripples and stuff. You know, I think the next thing... is going to be to... Oh. We need to patch up this now that we've decided to go with a long thing. I think we've got a bit of green we can use. Yeah, it'll work. We'll patch that up. And then it's basically sky and sea. Sky and sea. And sky and sea, I think we can... I don't know if we'll be doing that on stream or not. We'll see. But yeah, this is definitely getting finished this month. Once this is done, we may do 1 or 2 gaming streams, but the next one will be the next project stream, which I'm trying to figure out what it'll be, to be honest, because I've got a few half-finished projects I want to get back to, but I'm also thinking really long and hard about where I put my time. But at the end of this year, I want one project for each month that is 100% finished in that month. The project may take more than a month, but every month this year has to have a completed project. That is a requirement. And it can't be anything work related. Cannot be a work project. It has to be my own little hobby project. Them's the rules. Not very complicated rules, but rules nonetheless. Have I? No, I haven't made a markup. I thought I'd made a markup for a bit, and I was like, nope, you haven't made a markup. Here we go. Fan bloody-tastic. Brilliant. That is doing itself a real treat. Okay. There we go. Fan-bloody-tastic. Right, sky and sea. I can't think of anything else. Sky and sea. So let's just dump the spare bit here. And I'm just gonna pass that through there. Fantastic, the needle's there. Okay, let us check the pattern to see if there's any bits other than just sky and sea that are left. Any bits of highlighting that I have forgotten about. No, that's all sky and sea, sky and sea, sky and sea. Wow. That is a big deal. The fact that all we have left to do is to fill up this bit here and to fill up this bit here. It's not like a solid fill. It's especially for the water, there's like a rippled pattern we've got to work in. So it'll be a whole thing. But yeah, that's all the center, and then we'll come in with a back stitch and we'll do the back stitch details. But I don't think I'll bore you all with sky and sea on stream. I think I'll do that entirely on the sofa. So it means the next stream, which will be Thursday probably, will be something other than cross stitch. I have to figure out what. Probably not the last cross stitch stream, because I might do the back stitch on. Stream. But yeah, wrapping up. It's good. It's what we like to see. Okay. Well, with that, everyone, I'm going to say good night to you all, and I hope you sleep tight. And yeah, see you on Thursday.